The Rostov Ripper, the birth of a monster in Soviet darkness. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo, known as the Rostov Ripper or Red Ripper, is not only one of the Soviet Union's but also modern crime history's most horrifying serial killers, having etched his name into the dark pages of the 20th century with blood, brutality, and inhumane acts. Born on October 16, 1936, in the village of Yabloknoye in Ukraine's Sumy Oblast into a poor peasant family, Chikatilo's early life was shaped by the devastating shadow of World War II and the hunger, misery, and chaos caused by Stalin-era collectivization policies in rural areas. His childhood was marked by the fear and trauma brought by the war. His mother's chilling stories about his older brother, Stepan, being a victim of cannibalism during the 1930s famine in Ukraine, left indelible marks on his psyche. These stories may have planted the first seeds of Chikatilo's perverse psychology. A frail, shy, and introverted child, Chikatilo struggled with sexual impotence and social exclusion during his youth. Being mocked at school and failing in romantic relationships deepened his withdrawal and suppressed rage. He worked as a teacher for a time, but was dismissed due to inappropriate relationships with students, a harbinger of his growing detachment from society and descent into a dark path. From 1978 to 1990, primarily in the Rostov region, but also in Ukraine, Uzbekistan, and other Soviet cities, he committed at least 52 murders according to official records, mostly of children and young women aged 7 to 17, though the true number is estimated to exceed 60. Chikatilo's hunting method was terrifyingly systematic and deceptive. He prowled train stations, bus stops, wooded areas, or secluded parks, luring victims with the polite and trustworthy image of a teacher or family man. Offering candy to children or promises of jobs or help to youths, he would draw them to isolated areas where he carried out his rituals of sexual assault, torture, and brutal murder. He typically killed his victims with a knife or by hand, dismembering their bodies, sometimes keeping organs as souvenirs, gouging out their eyes, or engaging in cannibalism. These horrific acts revealed that he sought not only sexual gratification, but also absolute control and power. The grotesque nature of his crimes sent shockwaves through Soviet society, while Chikatilo's ability to evade capture for years exposed the inadequacies of the era's police force and the regime's tendency to suppress crime statistics. Investigations that began in the early 1980s were hampered by primitive forensic techniques, the absence of DNA analysis, and bureaucratic obstacles. Tragic errors, such as the detention of innocent suspects and the execution of a young man, were made. Chikatilo was briefly detained in 1984, but was released due to a semen sample that contradicted his blood type, a bitter revelation of the police's technical shortcomings. Finally, in 1990, Chikatilo's suspicious behavior at a Rostov train station caught the attention of police during a routine check, leading to his arrest. A search of his home uncovered knives, ropes, items belonging to victims, and bloodstains, which, combined with his confessions, brought the horrifying truth to light. His 1992 trial in Rostov, coinciding with the collapse of the Soviet Union, turned into a media frenzy. Held in an iron cage, Chikatilo shocked spectators and judges by shouting, singing, or displaying inappropriate behavior in the courtroom. Psychiatric evaluations confirmed he was a sadistic and necrophilic psychopath, but concluded that he was sane and had committed his crimes with full awareness. Found guilty of 52 murders, Chikatilo was executed with a single bullet on February 14, 1994, in Novocherkassk prison. However, his story was not merely that of a serial killer's horrific deeds. It was also a mirror reflecting Soviet society's repressed sexuality, poverty, the decay lurking in the shadow of a totalitarian regime, and the systemic failures of the state's crime-fighting mechanisms. Chikatilo's crimes shook public trust in the state during the regime's final years, and his capture and execution, paralleling the Soviet Union's collapse, symbolized the dark closure of an era. His story remains a chilling warning about the darkest corners of the human psyche, the destructive effects of societal repression on individuals, and how monsters can emerge from the cracks of a flawed system. Chikatilo continues to be remembered as one of the most terrifying figures in crime history, a tragedy that reveals not only the destruction of his victims, but also the slow erosion of a society. For his murders reflect not just individual depravity, but also the dark legacy of an era and a regime.